what the Awans represented as the value of what they were purchasing. But I understand from your reporting that they were actually, because you do not have to put something in inventory here in the house if it's less than $500, then Imran Awan and his cohorts would list things that cost more than $500, like iPads for $800 or so, would list them for just under $500, and then put a warranty that costs more than that. Is that your understanding?
Correct.
And Mr. Towers, you're nodding. Is that what?
I read the same thing.
But you understand how that could happen. You, as an IT guy, you make recommendations of things that should be purchased, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, the house policy is anything that's under $500 can be purchased and reimbursed on a voucher, or if anything over $500 would require to go through the house purchasing process where there is oversight.
Well, as someone, I will disclose, there was in my office in the 1980s, a congressman predecessor who purchased a typewriter, and we have not still, well, I guess the typewriter took about a year before we were allowed to finally write it off. We don't know. We didn't have a typewriter when I came into office. We don't know where that typewriter is, but it took over a year of working back and forth with the House admin to get them to allow us to write off that typewriter that no telling how many years, 20, 25, that has not been around. I'm sure it doesn't work if somebody could find it, but it certainly wasn't on hand when I came on board. And we still have a couch that was purchased in 1976 that we have not been allowed to write off, and nobody knows. Somewhere in the last decades, that couch disappeared before I came in, and we've not been allowed to write it off yet. So I read with interest that a member could write off $120,000 for inventory that couldn't be found. Could you expand on that?
So in February of 2016, Yvette Clark got a new chief of staff, and shortly after that time, they filed a write-off request to remove $120,000 of equipment that couldn't be found to get that off the inventory. So this is a tenth of their annual budget. They've got 15 staffers there, so that's like enough for 150 iPads in an office with 15 employees. And they encounter this problem. The new chief of staff realizes it, and they write it off, and they take no action. They don't fire Abid Awan, who was their IT guy at the time. And months go by, and they haven't alerted authorities or anything. They've just written it off. And eventually, House administrators learn independently about problems with this guy, and they tell all the members, we're going to start looking into everything associated with this. And it wasn't until that time that Yvette Clark told anyone about the $120,000 of missing equipment.
Well, and I understand there was one member of Congress that fired Imran Awan within a matter of months for incompetence. Isn't that correct?
Correct.
Who was that?
Kristen Sinema.
Yeah. And so she saw the work that was being done by Imran Awan and fired him for incompetence. Isn't that the reason that was given?
Yes.
Was that listed somewhere as the reason?
She was one of the few members who has said anything about these guys. I sent to the 17 female members who employed these guys. I sent them the police reports where these members these females are alleging abuse, including, quote, being kept like a slave. And Kristen Sinema was one of only 2 members who responded. The other 15 female Democrats declined to criticize Imran Awan, even despite these mounting red flags and accusations coming from, fellow Muslims and coming from, all kinds of different places.